I am Curran Bhatia chatting with James Kirkland. James, we'll talk about your most recent fights and your career. But first of all, how are you doing? Where are you right now?
Oh man, I'm doing awesome. I'm actually in Austin in the meantime. I'm actually helping with my daughter. I had a newborn. Pretty much doing that at the same time and staying in shape and get ready for the next upcoming move for me.
And that was actually my first question because I was lucky enough to spend some time in your training camp in the past. I know your family and your kids are your motivation. I know you grind for them. So how much, how good is it to have your family around you? And I know that you use that as your motivation, right?
Yes, sir. Now, as far as having, my team and, of course, my family behind me 100% is just an ongoing, overwhelming situation to me. Make me just give it all that I got, So for that being, I'm just there having them around and keep the team happy, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I know that you fought twice in 2019. You were undefeated in 2019. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. Was that frustrating for you that you were just getting going again with your career and then you had to deal with the pandemic?
Man, the pandemic situation is more than a letdown. It's more like it's like everything getting put in process, and everybody's making the proper steps and moving forward, and all of a sudden you have to come to a standstill. And when you're about to step on the scale, they tell you, "Hey, look, nobody, there's no fight." And you're like, "What do you mean?" So it's so much involved into it to the point that has me just like overwhelmed with the whole pandemic situation. And then when it comes to the fight, so.
And your training was obviously halted because of the pandemic. You probably couldn't train as consistently as you wanted to. You finally got back in there against Montiel, and that was in December of 2020. But I mean, was it training camp? Was it not consistent? Were you able to train the way you wanted to for this most recent fight?
You have to be 100% honest, man. The things that we needed sparring. The type of sparring that we needed, it wasn't available. There's people that match that dude particular style and skill and his ability. They were only able to come once every 3 weeks, and it was like me, like I like to go spar a day, skip a day, spar a day, and just keep it going. That's only going to allow you to get better. You know what I mean? So when that happens, it's like, what's the use of having this particular sparring partner? Let me get any work is better than no work, because 3 weeks you sparring and wanting to get right back in there the next following after the next day, you're like, hey, I'm ready to get back in there, but you can't get it the way you want to. And the sparring people that you need are not available. So it was a major upset for myself,
And obviously the fight did not, unfortunately, go your way, knocked down 3 times. What did you think about the fight? What went wrong in there? Was it the training camp issues or did something go wrong in the ring? What do you make of that fight?
That's one of the things that brings me back to speaking on the current things there and to get you where you're supposed to be at. Once you lose a certain amount of weight, and there's a thing where every fighter has to go with the rehydration part, put the stuff in your body that's going to allow you to be you the same day as if you didn't lose no weight. And just this one particular camp, nothing went the way we needed. Of course, anybody can put fluid in their body, waters and Gatorades, but to get you 100% back, of course, you need Pedialyte. There's other things that you need that wasn't available for me because they have this thing called the bubble, and you couldn't pretty much leave and go to certain stores, but you got to call certain people to get certain things that your body needs, and we didn't have that available to us, so it was a major letdown. So anybody that's, no matter who you are. If you don't rehydrate the right way, you're being able to adapt or to be able to take a punch or to be able to give it your all or to be able to land those punches that you need, they're not going to be there. So, it's like you want to draw a sad picture, but the reality is the reality. And it was just, when it comes to the recovery part, it wasn't 100% there.
And so clearly the next question, is going to be, I know you've been boxing since you were 6 years old. You're 36 now. So it's been a long 3 decades. Will you continue in your career in boxing, or are you thinking about retirement at all?
Oh, no time soon. Is the only part about this whole thing is just the recovery. Like, it's like, damn, why didn't he recover the right way? Why are people looking at me like, hey, man, he's washed up. He gave it all he got. This isn't his class, or this ain't with something that he's tied into, something that he wants to do anymore. But this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly what I like to do. At this particular moment, at that particular moment, training camp went fairly well, but just when it comes to rehydration, I want to be able to say a million different things, but I can't. It's just the reality.
And so you'll continue in your career. Who do you want to fight next? What kind of challenges do you want? What do you hope to achieve in boxing at this point?
At this point, I'm definitely want to be able to grab a world title. I definitely want to be able to take on the people that's actually in my division, the top, and I want to be initially labeled as one of the spotlight fighters of this decade. As far as a great fighter.
And I know that up to this point, your 2019 comeback, you were obviously very focused. You were in the gym working hard. I read an article and they quoted you and you said that you feel like you've been in and out of jail your entire life, right? And I know you were speaking symbolically there. Yeah. Why do you feel that way? Do you feel like it's been a little bit of ups and downs?
Oh, there's definitely, when it comes to the laws and being in the justice or right or wrong situation, I definitely have my hand of where you say defeats or good and bads when it comes to the laws, but it's basically had a lot to do with the people I consider friends, the people that I move and hung around with. A lot of those things that's changed tremendously. So I don't never really go back looking backwards because I got a long road of not positive situations. So it's like looking backwards is not going to get me anywhere. But looking back and seeing the positive things that took place, whether it's certain training camp, whether it's certain things that you ate, certain stuff that you was able to achieve and how you was able to achieve them. There's only the reason that I even look back at anything and take that and keep moving forward.
And people who are following you and your career as you were making your way up the ranks, you were knocking a lot of people out. You fought Canelo in May of 2015. He's now obviously the top of the game. Obviously that fight didn't end up going your way, but we didn't see you in the ring again until 2019. So during that time period from 2015 to 2019, what was going on in your head? What were you up to during that time?
There was a lot of different things. I was definitely trying to invest money, definitely trying to make the right type of moves, definitely with my kids and just moving forward, man, trying to get a different revenue of income. And in the meantime, I say, you know what? It's about the time I go and knock on that door again and see, let's see who wants to take some of these punches. And at the end of the day, man, now here I am. I took that defeat, but more so I learned from it because, like, damn, there's a lot of things that I want to do to rehydrate myself and to get myself in the right status, but certain things didn't allow that. So I look at that and I move forward. I say, hey, look, take a chip off your shoulder, make sure you give it to the next person, So, hey, I'm back at it like tomorrow, like today, I'm right back at it. So it's crazy because I never really gained any weight back. And I feel like usually when after I fight, I'm already back at a crazy way. Like, damn, how you do that over 2 days? Overnight, and be like, well, I can do it. But now I'm like still around fight weight, like impossible. But it's crazy. But I think that's where the rehydration part, when you do it the right way, it'll show. You know what I mean? So
And
at the end of the day.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, it seems like you're hungry to have a proper training camp, proper hydration, and do that. So when do you want to get back in the ring in terms of the timeline? And are there any specific names that you're targeting? Any specific fighters that you want to crack at?
No, man. They had so many things they brought some attention to me. And whether it was when it comes to fighters, as far as fighting them next, and who's on the docket, or who is in part of the chase, who's next to upcoming fights, and I was just like, hey, let it make sense, and let's get it done. Man, I'm down. Like, I'm ready to get back into it and take on the top. Whoever's there for me to take, I'm on them.
And when you look back at your career, I know you're not calling it a day. You have plenty of boxing left, but when you look back at everything you have achieved, is there one fight that stands out as the thing that you're most proud of? For me, as an observer, when you fought Alfredo Angulo and you got knocked down in the first round, you came back, you knocked him down in that same round and dominated that fight. That was a crowning achievement. That was a great fight. Any fights or moments that stand out to you as the best in terms of what you've achieved so far?
Man, oh man, because there's so much passion that you and so much drive and motivate energy that's in a particular training camp. So you can't never me from a person, I can't identify and saying, well, this one was harder, this one was easier. But I can't say the Fredo and Gulo fight. People would say, man, that was one of your hardest fights, and you give and honestly, man, the training camp was the hardest thing possible. The fight itself would seem like it was a walk in the park. Even when I got knocked down, I was just like, well, I was square footed, and he caught me right on the chin and trying to take me out. Of course, you want to be careful for not getting hit cracked again or getting caught so they can end the fight or wave it off. So I was just like, hey, stay in the mix, stay on your feet, keep watching, and everything's going to come to you. But like I say, man, I take nothing away from any fighter, man, but there's no dull moment when I'm in the ring.
And on the other side of it, is there any moment in your career that you regret? Anything that you wish you did differently in your career?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of things. Like even when I fought Alvarez, when I fought this past guy that I fought, it's just and so many, even the camps that was excellent. And I mean, and there was people that even even the camps that went right, there was some of the things. I mean, damn, if I would have just added this or done this, I felt like after looking at the fight over and said, oh man, that was a done fight in round one. You know what I'm saying? Only if I worked this way, or you know what I mean. So I was able to analyze certain stuff and movement. But there's a lot of fights that were I could say, hey, I wish I could have was thinking like that, but didn't. But yeah, it's a lot of improvement that I need to bring back to the table and work on fundamentals and going back to the basics.
And speaking of fights that maybe you'd want another crack at, I was there live for when you fought Nobuhiro Ishida. It was one of your comeback fights. Do you think, he was a very tall man. He was a big guy. Were you overlooking him at all before that fight against Ishida?
Oh man, honestly, I didn't know nothing about this guy. And we just put the facts out there. I knew nothing about him. I didn't know that he was a former world champion. I didn't know he had a chip on his shoulder. He was just looking for anybody. Just, I want my payback. I was like, hey man, another dude in the park. Let's let me take him out. He's tall, but the taller they are, the harder they fall. Didn't look at him as a particular individual that holds a particular amount of skill. Even though they say, yeah, he's he got a glass chin and you can knock him out. Hey, but you got to be able to touch these tall people. They'll shoot from certain angles and moving. So you got to be able to get there and that allow that movement, that energy to perfect on that fighter and deliver it to the same way. So there's a lot into it.
And so when I put on online that I was interviewing you, I asked for fans questions, things that people want to hear from you. As you can guess, the main question, you had 3 losses in your career, 3 knockout losses. And of course, people wanted to know you weren't with Ann Wolfe, training with Ann Wolfe during that time. Is there any chance that you would work with Ann again? And what is your relationship like now with Ann Wolfe?
And it's crazy because I had so many people come to me with that initial question, and I recently spoke with her, and everything is like it's like a brother and sister situation. You don't see each other a long time. Hey man, what's going on? I'm gonna kick it. Let's go kick it. Let's go party. Let's go do this. So there's always a plus when it comes to me and Ian. There's never, like I say, never a dull moment. And even when we're talking, we're like, man, this is what we got to improve. This is what we got. And I'm always loving just the class understanding that she has. And it's like she's my left side and I'm my right side. So it's always like if I ain't thinking one way, she's thinking another. And then when I'm thinking this way, she's, so it's like 2 pieces in a pie, like picture perfect. But she's working on things. I'm working on things. And but you never know how things work, man. Cause I'm definitely looking forward to talking with her and trying to see what we can do to move forward.
So safe to say it's possible that you would work with her again in the future, but not in the immediate future.
No. Let me take it all the way back. No. And work with Ann. I would love to sit there and say, let's jump it off today. Let's jump it off tomorrow, and get back to the movement and the hard training. Because a lot of people don't get me wrong. People they train hard, and some people can get used to training hard, and some people it's their lifestyle of working that hard. And dealing with her, she's been able to work me to a certain ratio that when it comes down to the fight be the easiest, and you be like, man, that ain't nothing, man. My training camp was 10 times harder, but I'm definitely down to have a talk with her, and we recently have spoken, and we'll talk about bringing stuff back to the game, so you actually never know. It's just like I've been just holding back a lot of information, and going to see what is initially a green light before I go ahead and wake everybody up to it.
And you've been a veteran in this game. You've had a lot of fights in your career. You've had a lot of different experiences. Now that you've gone through so much, I mean, what do you think about the business of boxing, the way it is? I know you've had a lot of different promoters. There's been different opportunities. Overall, when you look back, what do you think about the business of boxing?
The business of boxing is as far as how can it's pretty much I was like how can you say it? Boxing, when it comes to the boxing business, you can it can be a make you or it can be a break you. Depends on how you handle your business not just in the ring, but outside the ring. When it comes to paperwork, contracts, the whole nine, it's a make it or break it situation depending on how you set up your game plan for the future. So it's a make it or break it. This is.
No, that's great. And only just a few more questions for you. When I put up that I was speaking to you, Kermit Cintron actually chimed in. He said, James Kirkland was a beast, just like I was. He said, it was definitely a fight I'd love to have in our primes. It would have been a fight of the year, if not decade, to big punchers. What do you think about a mythical matchup, you versus Kermit Cintron?
Man, that's amazing. They even reached out and said that much love and support, man. What? Fuck yeah. That's dope as fuck. I like that. That's awesome, man, because he's a great fighter himself, and I'm definitely, like I said, I like all challenges and opportunities, man, and that's a great one at the meantime we're speaking on him, man,
And I know that you said you're not retiring, you're keeping moving forward. Have you thought about what you would do once you do hang up the gloves, your next act? Would you get into training? Would you do something else? Have you thought about the future at all?
Oh, most definitely, man. There's so many obstacles and decisions, and my way the mind goes, and of course your kids like, yeah, Dad, I wanted to get in the ring, and I want. And my oldest son, he's kind of, he's not saying crazy. He got the chip on his shoulder. I'm like, man, for what you're taller than your dad, but he definitely has a chip, and he likes to fight. And I don't want him to go to jail and get in a lot of trouble with it. So trying to keep him mellow, keep his head mellow, and keep him on the right track, man. But in general, man, there's a lot of things that go through my mind once I hang it up, and I'm looking forward to just getting focused on getting these fights in there while I'm still in it. You know what I mean? And then I can actually take care of what I got to take care of afterwards.
I know you missed some time in the prime of your career, so I'm sure you're eager to get those fights in before you call it a day. And I definitely appreciate your time. Only a couple more questions for you. So in terms of you continuing fighting, what would you say the biggest motivation is? Is it for your family? Is it for your legacy of what you can do in the sport? Is it for money? What do you think is the main motivation for you right now?
The main motivation is I would honestly say the biggest motivation for myself is, honestly, man, I feel like having that proper team and that connection with the people that you're working with, and being able to, while you in training camp, seeing that everything is getting dissected and everything is working to your game plan, to your full advantage, and knowing that you're going to step in there fight night and going to be, that's just my motivation. Just looking at being able to see while I'm in camp, everything is moving forward and going the right way. I'm thinking that's my biggest motivation. Then my kids, let alone on the sideline, like, Daddy, come on, yeah, one more mile. You know what I mean? Let's do it one more time. It's always a plus.
And you've had some ups and downs in your careers, like we talked about. You had periods of inactivity. You've been knocked out, but you've always come back. And even now, you're continuing to move forward. So would you have any words of encouragement for people who are maybe listening to us, maybe going through tough times themselves? Any words of encouragement for people to continue to go on their own journeys?
I feel like everybody has a passion. And some people get put in situations to where they're defeated or took advantage of, or let down or broken. It's always, when it all comes down to the bottom line, it's only you and that opponent, or it's you that has to run those miles. It's you have to take those punches. You the one that has to bob and weave and put yourself in positions not to get hit, but to hit back. So when you look at those things, everybody's going to say, oh, man, give it up, man. Not for you no more. That's when you have to keep your mind focused, like, I've been here. This is what I do. I'm ready for the next opponent. I'm ready for this opponent. And just keep that hunger, that drive, and that dedication, because simply without any three of those, you already been defeated. So at the end of the day, man, I just feel like keeping God first, man, and staying prayed up and focus on your craft. Everything is designed for you to win.
And final question for you, to your fans and supporters, people who have supported you throughout the years. I know that you've said you're going to keep going in your career, so I'm sure you want them to tune into your next fight. Anything you'd want to say to your fans and supporters?
Oh, man, I'm just more than delightful and glad that I've been having such a tremendous team as far as fans and support, and people that's definitely been behind me 100%, man. I've just been more than blessed by having y'all as not just being by my side, but at the same time cheering me on, at the same time giving me that motivation to do what I do best, man. So I'm just really just like look forward into the next one, and I'm coming.
James Kirkland, I want to thank you so much for the time. Best of luck to you, and I really appreciate your honesty and for speaking with me. Thank you.
No doubt. Have a good one, man. God bless.